Wadhwani Foundation is to accelerate job growth and to enable 10 million people to earn family sustainable wages and to lead lives of dignity. We deliver this mission through large-scale initiatives in entrepreneurship, small business growth, skilling, and innovation. Each initiative consists of many different programs, each of which serves a different area of need. To scale up our programs and initiatives, we are building AI-powered technology platforms, resource networks, and content in different languages to serve our different regions. Our initiatives and programs operate in India, but also in many countries in Latin America, Southeast Asia, and Africa. So these technology and content enablers become particularly important. We work closely with governments in national initiatives. And most of all, we've built a very talented team of 250 colleagues who are driven to lead and manage and deliver outcomes for our beneficiaries. Over the years, we've educated hundreds of thousands of students in entrepreneurship and skilled millions of students. We've also helped hundreds of startups and small businesses accelerate their growth and launched innovation programs in some of India's leading universities. But this is just the beginning. Our plan is to keep growing and scaling up every year so that we can achieve our objective of creating and enabling 10 million jobs by the year 2030.
Is the impact of a change limited to that moment alone? We believe that a positive change can set in motion a chain reaction and unleash a wave of goodness that can impact and transform a number of lives. When we help someone upskill, they can secure family wage employment. This in turn uplifts their family's quality of life. Children get the best education and can pursue their dreams. The family can think beyond basic necessities. At Wadhwani Foundation, we recognize the power of change, which is why we have set off on a mission to create jobs and change lives. Founded in the year 2000 by visionary Silicon Valley entrepreneur Dr. Ramesh Wadhwani, today, the foundation is scaling impact in over 15 countries across Latin America, Africa, and Asia. We have undertaken extensive initiatives across entrepreneurship, skilling, government digital transformation, and innovation and research. Our entrepreneurship programs seek to create the creators, to fund vision until it turns to value. We cater to the nascent, the experienced, and everyone in between, setting their trajectories to angles of opportunity. Our entrepreneurship programs are making a significant difference, enabling startups and small businesses to start, grow, and thrive. Our skilling programs upskill job seekers, fresh hires, and existing employees with in-demand emerging skills to secure a family wage job and achieve ongoing success at the workplace. Through Genie AI, our AI-powered, mobile-first platform, we are scaling up at speed in partnership with academia, industry, and the government to build a future-ready workforce. Our skilling programs are making a noticeable difference. Our government digital transformation programs bridge the gap between technology and governance. They are designed to help governments embrace the future and leverage emerging technologies to enable population-scale digital solutions. Our government digital transformation programs are making a marked difference. Our innovation and research programs are the harbingers of hope. They actively seek out dreams that can deeply affect reality and help bridge the gap between the two. We focus on big ideas and on the commercialization of these ideas for delivering real-world benefits. Our innovation and research programs are making a telling difference. We leverage the latest technology and expansive global networks to democratize access to world-class resources needed to improve livelihoods. At Wadhwani Foundation, we are committed to transforming the lives of millions around the world. It's a perennial challenge, an impossibility we consider possible.
I've been an entrepreneur for more than 45 years now. I've probably done 35 companies during this period of time. So I speak with experience when I say that there's absolutely nothing in life more exciting than being an entrepreneur. Being an entrepreneur is all about creation. You have a completely open canvas on which you can create the kind of company that fits your dreams, that can help society, that can help other people. It is just an absolutely phenomenal opportunity for all young people to go into. Now, to be an entrepreneur, it's not as if you need some degrees or some 30 years of previous work experience. You can be an entrepreneur if you have a good idea for a new product or a new service. You can be an entrepreneur if you are willing to work hard and face obstacles and run through those obstacles to achieve success. You can be an entrepreneur if you're willing to work in the ecosystem around you, to find talent, to find capital, to innovate, to find customers. All these things are possible because the successful entrepreneurs already in India. But each entrepreneur has to go through his own journey or her own journey. But when you go through it, no matter what the obstacles, the excitement, the satisfaction will be second to nothing compared to any other alternative that you have.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Liftoff Academy's session on export. Thank you so much for joining us today on this session. I know a lot of you are from North India, where Raksha Bandhan is a key festival, and you still decided to join us on Raksha Bandhan. Shows us your commitment. So thank you so much for joining, and happy Raksha Bandhan to everyone. I am Shruti Modi. I am the deployment lead with Vadhani Foundation. We have Mr. Abhilash Puljal, our trainer for today with us, and we'll now start. We'll have a few more participants for joining in. We had 50 plus registrations for today. I'm sure people are just joining, and we'll just start the session. So I want to say welcome to all our SMEs. Most of our SMEs, you've gone through our academy program, the 10 to 12 week academy program, where you've gone through a lot of different sessions. What we are now doing as an ongoing activity for all our SMEs is that we will keep bringing these one-off sessions where we believe there is an expert who can give you a comprehensive or detailed view in a specific topic which you may be interested in. With that, we've brought this session for you today. Africa Next. How do you enter Africa for your agri and food processing exports? As you're aware about Vadhani Foundation, Dr. Ramesh Vadhani, who started this foundation with one single aim to accelerate job growth in emerging markets. We do this through large-scale initiatives in skilling, entrepreneurship, government digital transformation, and innovation and research. The idea is that we want to work through high-quality program in partnership with other institutions and the programs that lead to job creation or better employability. With that, what happens with SMBs is that our core belief is that when SMBs will grow, they will create more jobs within the ecosystem. All the SMEs in the export domain are something we really want to work with, help on, which is where our partnership with APIDA, APC, and other export promotion councils come in. We really believe that when your exports will grow, your revenue top line will grow, you will ultimately employ more people that will create jobs within India. And we believe that's how, when millions are earning family sustaining wages, a lot of things within India will take care of itself, like education, sanitation, etc., when people are just earning money that can sustain their families. in this program for SMBs. We are grateful to IMA, our knowledge partner. IMA is one of the apex bodies when it comes to training management professionals. So thank you so much, IMA, for joining with us on this. And without further ado, I want to welcome our trainer for today. Some of you might have seen the profile that I've shared about him over the WhatsApp groups while announcing today's session. But Mr. Abhilash Puljal is an expectation state partner and country director for India. He's also a principal at Abhilash Puljal and Co, a boutique international development advisory firm. But his key is that he specializes in export strategies to Asia and Africa, which is where he's worked on developmental projects for clients like World Food Program for UN, African Development Bank, International Trade Center, amongst others. And his current projects, he's working with Agri SMEs in India, Zambia, DR Congo, and Egypt. So also through his firms, he actually helps SMEs export directly across board. His strong network is in 15 countries, including Africa and Southeast Asia and Middle East. So that is where his specialty lies. He's an expert through and through when it comes to Asia or Africa export entry. And I'm very excited that we are able to bring this session with him for all of you. And I really hope you'll be able to take advantage of the session today and really ask your pertinent questions to him. I just want to take one more minute and say that if you have other members of your association, what I mean is, say, if you are from APIDA or AIFPA and you believe other SMEs of the association will benefit from it, please forward the Zoom link to them. You know, as it is from the foundation, it is completely without any cost to the beneficiaries. So we're really hoping for maximum participation today. Ask your question, be a lively audience, and let's have a fantastic session. With that, Abhilash sir, we're really looking forward to the session with you, sir.
Thank you, Shruti. I hope I'm clear when I speak.
Yes,
With
sir.
regards to the questions, do we wait till the end of the session and then we take questions then, Shruti?
Sir, as you wish. Uh,
I
After
think
every
that'll be
module
better.
at towards the end, yes.
We can do that. We can do after every
Sure.
module. I'll take up questions, and then at the end also we can take up questions. Feel free. I'm not very good at taking questions on the chat box.
And
So,
that is
Shruti, if you can, then
sure, sir.
jump in, that'll be great. Thank you, everyone, for joining this afternoon. Like Shruti mentioned, today is Raksha Bandhan. Not only in North India, where I'm from, in South India also we have it. So I think it's a universal thing. Let me share my screen. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
So good afternoon again to everyone who's here today. So I'm going to start by giving you a brief background of what we will cover today. So it's a large economy. When I say Africa, I'm talking about multiple countries. I'll go a bit more into depth in a bit. But it's about a $1 trillion food and agriculture market opportunity that is there by 2030. Right now, it's somewhere around 650 to $675 billion market. We'll also talk about the practical strategies for market entry and expansion. There's one session I thought about to look at it not just from an export point of view, but also from looking at Africa as a place for people to go in and do their exports to the rest of the world as well as to India, the other way around. But what I've done is I've kept it more on a question and answer basis because I wasn't sure how interested people would be and at what level of an entrepreneurial level that people are at. So gauging that, then we can discuss that as well. We'll also be navigating through the landscapes and the logistics because I think when we talk about Africa, that becomes very important. And a lot of questions have come to me earlier in such masterclasses that I've taken. And we'll also be talking about building sustainable partnerships for long-term success. We'll look at it from a multi-dimensional angle. I'll be happy to take questions also because I'm a trained social scientist. Just to give you a background, I'm a trained social scientist. I have been working in this space in the although I'm sector agnostic, but my specialization is on agribusiness. I've been working in the agribusiness space in Africa, Asia, like Shruti had mentioned, but also I've advised various multilaterals and bilaterals within India as well. My recent assignment being with the World Food Program, where we have been advising the government of Assam to help with the marginalized communities in in Assam, in a district in Assam, to basically help them build their livelihoods, keeping in mind climate change impact. So today we won't talk much about climate change impact, but I'm sure there'll be a lot of linkages that will come in and out. So that's why when I say sustainable partnerships, I'm talking about all aspects of it. The discussion flow, I'm doing the welcome and introduction. Thank you, Shruti, again for the welcome. The African market opportunity is what I'll talk about, African market intelligence, navigating market entry and logistics. We'll talk a little bit of finance. I believe you have another session, but I'll talk very specific for Africa. I get a lot of questions on this, and that's why I thought it would be interesting. And then I'll talk a little bit about risk mitigation and support, and then we can have question and answers. While we can also have question and answers after each of these sessions. So the first thing is, why is Africa so important? I think if you see what the government of India also is doing right now, we are talking about the South-South cooperation. We are talking about BRICS. We are talking about IPSA. We are talking about all the other global South countries. For those of you who don't understand what South countries are the developing countries. Those are the ones who came and formed the G77. These are the countries that have actually started wanting to grow together as a developing economy, each one of them, and wanting to be able to get technology, capacity building, and funding from within themselves so that they can grow together. So the South-South concept is not a new concept. It's been there for some time. But in India, we've been talking about it right from independence. I think India is one of the pioneers. When India got its independence, Jawaharlal Nehru at that time spoke about the freedom of Africa, freedom of other countries which have been colonized. And that's how we spoke about how a South country should be able to help another South country. And we have been working on that concept ever since as a country. And we are now even talking about it with this government also speaking about South-South cooperation. So it becomes a very compelling case. With all that is happening that we see in Europe in terms of their economy, in the US in terms of their political structure as well as their economy, in other parts of the developing world, which we call as the global north. So keeping all of these things in mind, towards the end, I'll talk a little bit about the tariffs also that are there and how those also are affecting us. And then, so the US and global tariff dilemma also is something that is a case for Africa. Now, I think a lot of companies that I speak to, they're saying, Saab, we've been talking a lot about Europe and UK and Australia and all of that. Can we look at some alternative countries? Can we look at Latin America? Can we look at Africa? Can we look at Southeast Asia? Can we look at the Middle East? There's a lot of opportunity. When I say Middle East, it's not just Dubai and Saudi and Qatar, but there are lots of other North African countries which also come under the MENA region. So we'll discuss about that. The population in Africa is as big as ours. There are about 1.5 billion people, projected to reach about 2.5 billion by 2050. It's got the fastest middle class globally. It is going to have a larger middle class or about the same middle class as us by 2060. And 60% of the world's uncultivated arable land, let me put it out there, uncultivated arable land. So these lands can be cultivated, they can grow on it, agricultural outputs, but 60% of it is there in Africa from the entire world. And this, I'm not talking about the forests and the rainforests that are there, but I'm talking about cultivated arable lands that are available. And another thing that's also happening in Africa, like it's happening in the rest of the developing world, is also rapid urbanization, driving demand for processed foods, driving demand for food in itself. Technology is leapfrogging, creating unique tech opportunities. We will talk about some of these tech that we can use and we can leverage to be able to do business in Africa. Today's day is not just that, we go and have to travel there to get things done, and to be even for risk mitigation, there are lots of tech opportunities that are there. And another interesting thing that had also come about is the African Continental Free Trade Area. We'll discuss it more in detail, which is creating the world's largest free trade area. Out of 54 countries are signatories to this. And we will talk about that as well. And that's why it makes it a very compelling case for Africa, where there is a huge market opportunity. So 60% arable land. So that is a revolution for agriculture in Africa. Agriculture sector contributes to about almost 30 to 40% of GDP. Different countries have different GDP contribution from agriculture. India also, we have a large contribution towards agriculture. So we are much ahead of them, ahead of most of them, I would say. There are some of them which are even ahead of us. You'll be surprised when you see some of these countries and the way they grow their food. Food imports currently, imports, when I say imports to Africa, which is exports from the rest of the world, is currently at 80 billion annually, projected to reach about 110 billion by 2030. The agri-tech space, like I was talking about, is growing at a very fast 12 to 15% CAGR, expected to reach about 50 billion in 2030, which is a large amount. 55% of Africa's population is engaged in agriculture, and only 6% of cultivated land is irrigated. So there is a large technology opportunity there as well. This point also is important because 6% of agricultural land is irrigated, and hence the production also is a little low. And that's the reason why there is a lot of import that happens into Africa. There are 5 mega trends that are shaping Africa, the food sector today. One is the demographic dividend. You have 60% of population of this whole continent, which are 25 years old. There's huge appetite for innovation. There's a huge appetite for consumption. And a lot of people are now, especially the urbanized area, there's a huge acceleration that is happening, where 1.1 billion, like I said, by 2060 is what we'll have an urban population. And when you say urban population, they can be from high-end high-rises working in the technology space to the shanties that are there. But all of them are growing in the urban areas, and cities are becoming urbanized. Digital revolution, out of the 1.5 billion, 1/3 of them have unique mobile unique subscribers, enabling fintech, which is already moving in very fast, and agri-tech solutions, like I said. Climate adaptation, very important. Large continent with a large number of people. So there is a lot of carbon footprint. So climate adaptation is increasingly coming into focus, especially also because of the drought situations that they have, and they're wanting to bring in proper technology, sustainable farming, etc. Importantly, what else is also happening in Africa is a huge trend towards policy reform. The government is wanting, I mean, for those of you who know what digital public infrastructure is, governments are actually now, we are used to it now, all of us, when we, in India, when we want to go to the airport, we have Digi Yatra, it's already, you don't have to stand in line, you just walk through security and you're at your gate. We are used to it.
ಅಮೆರಿಕದ ಕಥೆ ಅಮೆರಿಕದವರು ಹೇಳಬೇಕು ಹೊರತು ಬೇರೆಯವರು ಹೇಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಬಿಡಲ್ವಲ್ಲ ಅವರು. ನೀವು ಹೇಳಬಹುದು ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಅಮೆರಿಕ.
Somebody is on, can you please mute yourself? Yeah, sorry. So so a lot of policy reform coming into play, which will support transition and food security. And the government, I was talking about digital public infrastructure. So all governments are now looking at digital infrastructure to be put in place so that they also have the similar kind of ease of living. The citizens can have ease of living like we do. For example, when we talk about national IDs, we have our Aadhaar, we have a UPI, it's digitized. You can pay anywhere without having to even take out a card or taking out a single coin or a note. You can use your phone to pay, which is not there in most of these countries, or a lot of these countries. So these policy reforms are now coming in. Government wants to bring those in place so that it becomes more easy for citizens to be able to interact. as well as to transact. Now, the most important aspect of Africa today, when we talk about Africa, of course, we'll be talking in general about Africa because one needs to understand that Africa is a large continent. It is not one place, because I always find that whenever I speak to Africa, people come to me and say, Acha, aap South Africa mein kaam karte hain, you work in South Africa. And I said, no, I don't work only in South Africa. I do work in South Africa, but that's only one country. There are 53 more countries that are recognized sovereign countries with their own governments, with their own currencies, with their own, capitals and legal systems, etc. And it is a large continent of 30 million square kilometers. Is as big as the United States, China, India, Japan, and most of Europe. And I say most of Europe, most of continental Europe is a part of this Africa alone. So it's that large in terms of its size. You have Africa is, again, from a geographically is also very diverse. You have the Maghreb region in the north, which is the desert, the Sahara Desert, which is again very different to the sub-Saharan grasslands, which is below the Maghreb region, which is the north. And then you have the rainforest, which is in Congo, the central part of the continent. And then you have an island like Madagascar, which is basically totally different. I mean, the animals that you find, that the flora, the fauna in Madagascar is very different from you can find anywhere else in the world. So it's a very diverse continent with the 10 distinct biomes. So it has its different ways of working. So when we talk about Africa, we don't talk about one Africa, we talk about many Africas. All the more like what we have in India. We speak a lot of languages within India. We are one nation, but we are also a subcontinent, as we are called. It's similar to these people also in Africa as a continent, but they're individual. Politically, they're very different in terms of countries and sovereign states. But there is something called Pan-Africanism, where they all feel they're all African in the way, even if you take someone who like Gaddafi, who used to be the leader from Libya. He used to be a big Pan-Africanist, and he spoke about how everybody on that continent, including those who speak Arabic and who look Arabic, also a part of the African continent. So that's how diverse they are. They speak a lot of different types of languages. Lots of Afro-Asiatic, like in Ethiopia, you have a lot of Afro-Asiatic languages. Nilo-Saharan, which is the Egyptian, Niger, Congo, and the various many, and the colonial languages also. The most important thing when we look at Africa is we look at the language where we are comfortable with, which is English. And then we tend to look at that as an opportunity only. But then there are other parts of Africa which nowadays with technology, you can overcome the language barrier, which could be French or Arabic or Portuguese or Spanish. Spanish is only one country. Portuguese, there are about 3 or 4 countries. And then French, of course, is a whole region, and Arabic, all of the Maghreb region. Again, the economies and the GDP per capita, PPP ratio-wise, if you see, there are very poor countries like Burundi in Central Africa. And there are decently wealthy countries like the Seychelles, which is an island off of the African mainland continent, with about 12,000 USD in GDP per capita, and everything in between. So if you see, this is the map of Africa. You have 54 different countries. Every country has its own diversity within itself, but in general, the continent itself is quite large. But if you really look at the opportunity that is there, despite producing about 60% of the world's cocoa beans in West African countries, which is all the way from Mauritania, going all the way to Gabon, you have only 5% of those beans are domestically processed before they are exported. Most of the beans go to Europe. Today we still call it Belgian chocolate, but Belgium doesn't grow cacao. It comes from Africa. It comes from this part of the world. Mostly comes from Democratic Republic of Congo for Belgium. And then when we think of Switzerland, we think of chocolate. But the cacao beans don't come from Switzerland. They only make it. So there's a lot of potential. Only 5% of it being processed in Africa itself. And only 10% of Africa's harvested fruits and vegetables undergo value addition. Whereas rest of the world, even in India, we have about 35 to 40%, which is processed within the country, leading to post-harvest losses also, which they have 40%, which is very high in Africa. It's a mine of fantastic fruit that you can find in Africa. I mean, if you drive through the roads, for example, if you're in Rwanda or in Uganda, or even in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, avocado is found all over the place. You can drive everywhere and you can see avocado. And then you think, oh my God, and it's very reasonable there because it grows there. But no value addition is done. And also they don't export it. Avocado in India comes all the way from, some of course comes from Tanzania, but a lot of it comes from Peru and Southern America, which is even further down than close by Uganda or Rwanda. So there's a lot of fruit that grows, but it's not value added. Nigeria again is the largest producer of cassava. Again, only 5% of it is processed into starch or ethanol or whatever, and the untapped market of about 5 billion is still pending there. Ethiopia produces coffee, a lot of coffee. That's the birthplace of coffee. Coffee in a place called Kaffa is where coffee was first found by a herder, and then it so happened that he consumed it, and then rest is history. That's about 30% of their agricultural export revenues. But there is a lot more coffee that is there. That whole region, if you see Rwanda, Uganda, Kenya, Ethiopia, little bit even in South Sudan, there's a lot of coffee. All naturally grown. If you take Kenya, as a matter of fact, it's the same thing with other fruits. Mango, you drive through from the airport from Harare, going into the city, you'll see a lot of mango trees. And again, unprocessed, a lot of it goes to waste. Kenya itself has, 12% CAGR, the average 12% CAGR growth rate, is exporting mango pulp to about 25 countries, huge potential. But again, they still consume mangoes coming in from India because there's a lot more demand as well. Another challenge there they have is a cold chain infrastructure. Only 5% of perishable produce is what it can cover, compared to Europe, which is of course 80%, and it's a huge opportunity there as well. And when it comes to the workforce, it's about 70% of the workforce is small-scale food processing enterprises, from dairy to even agriculture, post-harvest work that women do in most parts of Africa. And interestingly, for our exports from India, why and what is happening with the African consumer? The African consumer, like I said, has a very large middle class, which has about 1.4 trillion annual spend, which this middle class is doing currently. And then there is a huge dietary diversification. If you see, African staples are mostly used to, like in India also, used to be millet, used to be meat, and banana, and a few others. Maize. Maize, of course, is new now. But it's moved now more to proteins. People have been talking about proteins, needing more proteins, I think, like we have in India also. There are, again, culturally also it's different. So if you go to Ethiopia, Eritrea, and that region, they consume also protein in terms like us, like having pulses, all the different kinds of dals. They also consume protein in that form. And they also get protein from meat, of course, dairy, and processed food. Processed food is something that is growing very fast. And that's something that's actually got a huge demand in Africa that is growing, which is actually being supplied by Europe, as well as some parts of Latin America and the US. Health consciousness also is growing in Africa. A lot of people are getting educated, so there's a growing demand for organic and fortified foods. It is not as much as it is in India or in Southeast Asia and South Asia, but it is still growing. There's a demand for it, for organic especially. Fortified foods is something that is being given through multilateral agencies like the World Food Program, to ensure that nutrition reaches the young, and that's where that also is coming into the African consumer needs. Convenience culture, ready-to-eat meals is growing very fast there. As a matter of fact, it's growing faster than in India. In India, we don't have this whole concept, which has now come through Licious and the small companies that have come up and started giving you ready-to-cook and ready-to-eat meals. But this is something that has come from a Western culture because of the colonial input that is there, and it's growing faster there. Brand awareness, again, people are looking for quality, branded products. When I say brand, they need not be global brands. They could also be brands that are being produced within the country, within the region. One of the things that's also happening when it comes to brand is a lot of white labeling is happening in India, and it's being sold because the local brands are more popular. You can see this with milk powder. Milk powder, there's a lot of milk powder that goes from India, and that milk powder is sold under local brands, and there is a value for that there. E-commerce is good. Can people please put yourself on mute?
Abhilash sir, may I request you something if you don't mind?
Yeah.
As a host, I can put everyone on mute. I can disable that whenever you want people to speak and ask questions.
Sure.
Okay.
Please. E-commerce adoption, again, online groceries, online shopping is growing very fast across Africa, especially major economies like South Africa, Kenya, Egypt, Nigeria, and even the smaller economies also is growing quite fast. As long as there is population, I was surprised. I was there about a month ago in Ethiopia. The kind of online shopping that has come is actually quite impressive. And the websites are in Aramaic, and they're selling local products. It was quite impressive how things are actually moving in this part. The strategic market clusters, I thought I should also give you an understanding of what kind of market clusters can we look at. I'll look at it more in detail later, but immediate opportunities that are there are in, like I said, in the major economies like Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, Egypt. And the reason why we are looking at these is because of population size. One thing that we see most of the time when people are talking from India, they say, we have such a large market that we are reaching out to. Why should I look at Africa? But Africa should never be looked at upon as in only one country, but to look on upon a region because of the various opportunities they have put in place to make that easier, and we'll talk about that. So Nigeria, if you look at it, is 220 million, the size of UP, I guess. The import bill for them is 14.8 billion. They import a lot of food. Kenya imports a lot of food. South Africa, Egypt, they have a huge, and their agri GDPs are also quite high. If you look at Kenya, is really high at 34. Ethiopia is high at 33. In fact, it should be higher than that. I'm surprised that it's at 33. Ethiopia also has a very large population, 128, but it's a medium-term opportunity. And the only reason why that's in the medium-term opportunity is because of Forex transactions are very restricted there. So if you make money in Ethiopia, to be able to bring that money out into India or wherever your medium-term jurisdiction is, it'll become difficult. Ghana has a good potential, again, English-speaking. All the ones that you see on top tier 1 are all English-speaking countries. Morocco has good potential. There's a lot of potential even in the Francophone countries. There's huge potential. Morocco, for example, has an import of food of only 5.5 billion every year. Ghana, you'll be surprised that it's one of the staples in Ghana is rice. They eat rice with everything, like we do in the south and the east of India. But they don't grow that much rice, and they spend close to $2.2 billion every year to import rice from India, from Philippines, from other parts of Southeast Asia. So that's the kind of opportunity that is there. And then the long-term opportunity, of course, is there in a place like Mr. Ghosh. I'll just come to you in 2 minutes. Let me finish this section, and then I will open it up for discussion. Long-term opportunity, Democratic Republic of Congo, again, a huge population, huge arable land of opportunity. Water is not a problem. But then the processing that they do there is very little. Tanzania, large population. Uganda, large population. Small country, but certainly a place to look at. Again, if you go into I'll share this presentation. Shruti, you can share it with everybody who's joined this. And then in this, you'll see the kind of sectors that, can you believe that in West Africa, the poultry sector is mostly backyard poultry. There is no formal poultry, which is there. It is there, but it's very limited. You have some in Kenya, you have some in Nigeria. But if you come to places like Gabon, you see the entire region around it. You will find that, there is not one poultry farm. And most of the poultry that comes into this whole region, if you see this region on the west of Africa, it all comes from France. And can you believe it? It comes from Brazil, all the way from Brazil, frozen chicken, dressed chicken, pieces of chicken, different types, but it all comes from there. Democratic Republic of Congo. I even worked in some of the interior parts of this country, and I found that there is chicken that comes all the way from Brazil. And it is expensive. Of course, it comes from so far away. So there is a potential for someone to look at that sector. Egypt has 18 billion food imports. There's a huge. Egypt is one of the largest processed food country from India that we supply to, especially meats, etc. They have very strict quality requirements, and India is able to supply to them. So there is a lot of potential. Again, South Africa has huge agricultural imports, Algeria, and these are some of the countries that we don't actually look at. Algeria is something that we don't consider much, but there's a lot of potential. 70% of food needs are imported. 70% of their food need is imported. And there are opportunities in dairy products, animal feed, seed, potatoes, etc. Kenya, Morocco, all these countries are quite well known for importing food. Then cereals, oilseed, these are the most imported into Africa, just to give you a feel. So cereals are what account for 43% of their total food import. Oilseeds, there are lots of small oil pressers, oil refineries, which primarily get soybeans and groundnuts. If you go to West Africa, groundnuts, mungpali it grows a lot there. So there are lots of these things that actually get imported even from outside, and then they get pressed for oilseed. 11% of their food import is coming from also from vegetable oils. Milk powder has a huge potential. A lot of Indian companies do export milk powder to Africa. It becomes 10% of the Africa food import. Sub-Saharan Africa importing over 2.3 billion. It's actually much more now. This is a little dated. Sugar and sugar confectionery. You'll be surprised that there are swathes of lands there that can grow fantastic sugarcane, especially if you look at Uganda, you look at Tanzania, you look at Kenya, you look at even West Africa, including those places like Mali and Mauritania. There's a lot of sugar cane that is grown, but still they import processed sugar back into the country. I have a feeling they also export this to different parts of the world, and they get processed and they come back. Fruits and vegetables, again, like I said, a lot of fruits are grown, fantastic quality foods are grown. But still they import fruit and vegetable up to 1.8 billion annually. One of the things that I wanted to, we spoke about how are we going to enter these markets. And one of the ways why I said that, you shouldn't look at Africa as just one country, going into one country and then saying, oh, this population is less. I'll give you an example. All the countries in Africa are part of some regional trade bloc. Either they're part of the ECOWAS, which is for West African countries, 15 members. So when you get into one of these regional trade bloc, you get access not to just that one country, but the rest of the countries that are around it. Because they have a common tariff, they'll have various duty reductions, various fiscal and non-fiscal benefits that they provide you. And they've also built corridors accordingly, linking these countries for supply chain reasons. Then you have SADC, which is for Southern African Community. and the East African Community, and COMESA, which is for Eastern and Southern Africa. It's all that English-speaking countries across Eastern and Southern Africa. Now, I'll give you an example of how this works. There is a country, Rwanda, which is in the center. It is in the center. If you see democratic, you see where Uganda is, right below it is Rwanda. Now, Rwanda is a very small country, but this small country is one of the most efficient countries that one can think of. When I started working here in the year 2009, they wanted to bring in, what do you call that, tractors for manufacturing. And then, our tractor companies in India said, oh, you know what, you only have 52 tractors in your whole country. Why would you want me to come and invest there to, work with tractors? But then, because this is a part of EAC, the East African Community, which is Uganda, South Sudan, Kenya, Burundi, Tanzania, and Rwanda, all of those countries together form about almost 200 million people. Rwanda itself is about 12 million people. But now if you see the kind of investments that have been done in Rwanda is because they want to access the complete region. Volkswagen has set up their car manufacturing unit there. Then a couple of European, I don't know which one, European tractor manufacturers have set up there. So that is the kind of opportunity that these regional trade blocks give. Now, while this regional trade blocks is only for the region, what had happened about 5-6 years ago is the Africa's wider FTA came about, a free trade agreement that came about for all of Africa, which is basically called the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, which all the 54 of Africa's UN recognized countries are there. Okay, it's only 54. 55 UN recognized is wrong there. The 55th West Sahara was not recognized yet. So it creates a very world's largest free trade area by the number of participating nations. There's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of challenges that are still there. People still are using the regional blocks, but AFCTA is something that is going to be very efficient, which will liberalize tariffs, eliminate about 90% of intra-African tariffs on goods. Countries, even to have labor move between countries, they've made it easier under this AFCTA. The country that's actually initiated is Rwanda. So earlier, you needed a visa to go to Rwanda. Then they said, okay, it's not just foreign people coming in, but also if people come from the Commonwealth countries, we'll give them free visa. Then they said all of Africa. Then they said anybody from the world. So slowly they're opening up so that it makes it easy for people not only to do trade with those countries, but also tariff liberalization also is being done. Rules of origin is being simplified so that it reduces the paperwork. And like, for example, when earlier 13 documents were required, now it's only 3. The market access becomes very easy, especially for agri processors. And we are seeing that currently for those of them who are working in cashew nuts, dry fruits, vegetable oil, where the harmonization has already taken place. So that is the first section that I wanted to discuss about. I'm happy to take questions now. You can open up the question and answer bit.
Yes, I have allowed everyone to unmute themselves. So if you have any questions, I want to also say, interestingly, Abhilash sir, Mr. Rudra R. Mr. Rudra R says that he lives in Angola and major commercial and food products are imported from India.
Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rudra. Yes, Angola also imports. India exports a lot of agri products and pharmaceutical products. And there are many things. In fact, in Angola, in Luanda, a lot of the grocery shops, even in DRC, even that whole region, the grocery shops, the supermarkets, as they call them, they're all owned by Indians. And they import Indian products there, and then they're available in the market. So I agree with you. Mr. Ghosh, you have your hand raised, please. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Mr. Vilash. I was just curious to know how's the appetite of African people in terms of Indian spices, because spices are rich, flavorful,
Yeah.
at the same time many are pungent. So, what is their kind of food habit? Do they like spices food, or it's more of boiled thing? And if it is spices, is there a room for penetration in the market, and how it is?
Yeah. No, thank you. It's a very valid question you asked. Again, like I said, it's 54 countries, so people eat differently in different parts of in the continent. There are parts of the continent where spices are very heavily used. For example, if you take Ethiopia in the northeast, I should have had a map permanently here, but nevertheless,
It's okay.
Ethiopia.
I'm very good in geography. Thank you.
So if you see Ethiopia and Eritrea, they actually consume a lot of Indian kind of spices. They use pepper. Pepper is used everywhere. Across Africa, there's a huge demand for pepper.
Okay.
Right from the western part of Africa, that's what the colonialists took to them. So a lot of pepper is used everywhere. A lot of pepper is grown also everywhere. If
Is
you
it is
take,
it black pepper or red chili which we are referring?
no, pepper, I'm talking about pepper, black pepper.
Black pepper. Okay.
Black pepper is consumed. As a
Uh,
matter of fact, Zanzibar used to be like a spices hub in the olden days.
right.
That is where a lot of spices were grown. Um, if you take Ethiopia and that region, they even consume turmeric. They grow turmeric there. They consume turmeric there. They consume cloves, which is long, and not cardamom so much. They consume jeera, cumin,
Okay.
and some of our and dhania seeds. These are all actually cooked
Mm-hmm.
in their food, along with their injera. They make their protein as well as their vegetables using some of our spices. So it all depends on which part of Africa that one will be looking at. Now, there are some parts of Africa which also like chilies. So if you go to eat the jollof rice in the western part of Africa, which is in Nigeria, Senegal, the Gambia, there they eat jollof. Jollof rice also has some spices in it. But in general, in general, it's mostly pepper that is used. There is a lot of Indian influence in places where Indians actually had gone during the British time. So one of the things I'll talk later, and you'll see, is that they consume chapatis,
Uh-huh.
and they call it chapati. So we'll come to that in a bit. But there is a potential for spices, and there are already people selling spices from India. A lot of spices go from here to Africa. And in a place like Ethiopia, they grow spices also. Zanzibar used to be the heartthrob of spice in Africa. Zanzibar is a small island off of Tanzania. So a lot of these spices were consumed. So there is a potential. North Africa, if you look, Algeria, where I told you, Egypt, they all also use a lot of our dalchini. Our cinnamon is used in that part. Cinnamon is used
Uh,
also in the coffee industry now to for
okay.
making
Yeah, to add the
cappuccinos and
flavor.
all that.
So, but then I understand that there's not much of appetite for red chili. I mean, it's more of black pepper. And
There is
forward with the spices.
there
Uh,
is red chili also. It depends on where. For
okay.
example, if you take places like Rwanda and Uganda,
Uh-huh.
not there's a huge demand for bird eye chili. So
Ah,
a lot of bird eye chili is grown in that region. If you're talking about red Guntur chili, no, there is no appetite for
no, no,
that.
no, no. I am actually into Northeast, so it's majorly my product is Bhut Jalokia, the
Ah,
spiciest one of the world with 1
yeah,
million SHU level. And
sure.
of course, Bird's Eye is the Queen
That's
Chili.
too that's too spicy for them. I think it's too spicy for the rest of India also.
No, I've been trying it. I mean, you have to use it sensibly
Yeah,
because
I know. I love it. For
this
me,
chili is
I'm from
much
Andhra.
better for your
For me,
health,
it's actually
better
one of
for.
my favorite chilies. But
Uh,
yeah, I think there are others also. I think Sai Prakash, you had your hand up.
Hi, Ablash.
Good afternoon, Sai Prakash.
Yeah. I'm actually in rice industry. So just wanted to know what kind of rice would we have a good movement over there, like parboiled or raw rice. Like what the quality of rice?
Lot of rice that goes from here is broken rice because that's the cheapest. There is potential even for basmati and the higher value rice as well, but every country is different. There's a huge shortage, especially in countries in West Africa where they consume a lot of um rice, like I said, in Senegal, in the Gambia, in Nigeria, in the whole region there. But the poor people can't afford very expensive, so a lot of broken rice goes there, and also parboiled rice also goes in. But I think it's mostly the raw rice that has a market.
Thank you.
But country to country is different. We need to, do a little bit of research, and then we will talk about that how we are going to do a bit in the next session.
The demand is more for organic product or the regular conventional one?
Regular organic is too expensive, mostly in Africa now.
Right.
Sony.
Thank you.
Myself is Dr. Smith. We have a bakery in Jodhpur, and we are into millet cookies.
Yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
Dr. Sony.
या तो एक तो हमें ये पूछना था सर कि जैसे पैकेजिंग के लिए अगर अपन एक्सपोर्ट की बात करें तो जो पैकेजिंग होनी चाहिए वो प्लास्टिक पैड जार पैकेजिंग है वो वहाँ पे अलाउ है सस्टेनेबल?
वो भी अगेन कंट्री टू कंट्री डिपेंड होता है। जैसे कि अगर आप रवांडा ले जाएंगे, रवांडा में प्लास्टिक बैंड है, तो वहां पे नहीं जा सकता। बट अदर पार्ट्स ऑफ अफ्रीका देयर इज मोस्टली लाइक इन केन्या में प्लास्टिक अलाउड है, बट उसका वो गेज के हिसाब से है। दैट हैज टू बी लुक्ड इनटू ईच। we'll come to a little bit of all of that. अभी मैं उसके बारे में बात करूंगा। Then we can ask, you can ask questions in that.
एंड बेसिकली एक और सवाल था, जैसे इंग्रेडिएंट में हमारा 100% मिलेट रहता है, बाजरा रहता है, तो इस गुड चॉइस के वहाँ पे अपन स्टार्ट कर सकें मिलेट?
हाँ बिल्कुल, वहाँ पे मिलेट तो उनका तो स्टेपल था पहले, बाजरा नहीं था। तो बेसिकली फॉक्सटेल मिलेट एंड सोरगम ज्यादातर। तो मिलेट का अभी काफी, जब ये ईयर ऑफ द मिलेट शुरू हुआ था, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ने जो यूएन के थ्रू किए थे, तो उसके तहत वर्ल्ड फूड प्रोग्राम, इनफैक्ट आई वाज पार्ट ऑफ दैट, आई वाज लीडिंग दैट प्रोग्राम। वी वर लुकिंग एट हाउ वी कैन टेक सम ऑफ दीस टेक्नोलॉजीज बैक टू अफ्रीका। सो देयर इज अ ह्यूज पोटेंशियल। व्हेन आई डिस्कस दैट आई विल कम टू यू। मैं मिलेट के बारे में बात करूंगा।
हमारे पास सर
वो हम बात करेंगे। If it is about business, we can talk later. Because there are lots of others also on the call, and then I'll finish.
In fact, Abhilash sir, I was also saying, so let's maybe ask a little more generic questions because every product, which country might not completely. This is also where I want to highlight. We did a session on how you can do on your own data analysis, get the public data for your product, for your HCC code. If you want, drop a message. I will forward the link to that video, the session that we had done with Ankit sir. But maybe Abhilash sir, then we can continue.
I'll continue, and those of you who have questions, I'll take it right after this because we don't have enough time also. I don't want to be running out of time. And how do we decode Africa? Strategic alliance, and do we have the right market intelligence? How do we go into it? So you need to build your market knowledge. It's exactly coming into what Shruti was just mentioning, Abhi, is that you need to really do your market research. And it is very, very important, not only to Africa, wherever you go in the world. If you don't do your market research properly, you will not be successful. And that is the key. And in today's day and age, when data is available at your fingertips, there's no reason why people shouldn't do it. And the lot of questions, even in previous sessions that I did similarly, they said data nahi mil raha, ye nahi mil raha. Some of the data to available nahi hai, I understand. But then most of the basic data that you would require, for example, अभी आप डॉक्टर सोनी आप जो कह रहे थे कि I want to be able to take millet into Africa. So you need to do that research कि कौन सा millet वहाँ पे उग रहा है, which country, where is the potential. There's a step-by-step way to do it, and I'll tell you. So you need to know your market. For that, you need to do primary and secondary research. Primary research तो बाद में आएगा, without which you can't really enter a market. You can't say मैं सिर्फ यहीं पे सब कुछ research करके मैं चला जाऊंगा, वो नहीं हो पाएगा. क्वांटिटेटिव भी क्वालिटेटिव भी देखना है, रिमोट वर्सेस ऑन ग्राउंड इंटेलिजेंस भी चाहिए। ऑन ग्राउंड इंटेलिजेंस कहाँ से मिलता है वो भी बता दूंगा। कंटिन्यूअस मॉनिटरिंग करना चाहिए। लॉट ऑफ पीपल से कि मुझे यहाँ पे अफ्रीका में काम करना है, एक टीम में एक बंदे को लगा दिए और वो बंदा क्या कर रहा है क्या नहीं कर रहा मॉनिटरिंग नहीं करते, एंड देन दे से दैट इट इज नॉट सक्सेसफुल, देन इट वोंट वर्क। And it's always good to have local partnerships. That is exactly how you'll be successful. If you don't have local partnerships, you don't know the ground reality, you don't have your ear to the ground. So the first important thing everybody asks me is, how do I identify which countries to go? There are so many countries, kya karein? So first thing is, unko kya chahiye, first is what you need to check. And I think market demand and the import profiles becomes very important. Um, if you really, for example, one product that came out right now was millet. When you know that this is the millet is your product and you are doing multiple millets, aapne to bajra bataya, I'm sure there are others also which you can make biscuits with. You will have to do a research, and there is a program, I believe, how to do the research. You can go ahead and do that, and then see which part of the continent mein wo products consume ho rahe hain. This information you will get. I'll show you some of the links right now. And another very important thing is, those of them who always look at language as a first screening. मुझे सिर्फ अंग्रेजी कंट्रीज में जाना है, बाकी कंट्रीज में बाद में देखूंगा, which is also fine. You look at it from that lens. You look at the regulatory alignment. French speaking है तो West African countries हो गए, East speaking है तो Uganda, Kenya हो गया. Streamline करिए उसको, labeling, marketing, compliance. आप labeling के बारे में भी पूछ रहे थे. So you'll have to regulatory alignment. This is exactly what you had asked me. Plastic allowed hai kya? That is a regulatory alignment that you'll have to do research. Okay, I want to sell these biscuits in Rwanda, but Rwanda mein plastic allowed nahi hai, paper pack mein karna hai kya? So that's a streamlined way of thinking of it and doing it. Third is port and logistic accessibility. We'll talk a little bit more in detail on the ports. There are only major ports that are there. There are a lot of minor ports, but you can't export to that. It will become expensive. So major ports ke through kaise karna hai. Trade blocks, we just spoke about AFCTA, 90% duty free ka. So those are the kind of places you can look at. Urbanization kahan ho raha hai, biscuits kaun kharidte hain. Maybe it is schools who will buy it. You have to think about all these things and take it to those kind of retail modernization kya ho raha hai. Angola के बारे में आप कह रहे थे, retail modernization काफी high है वहाँ पे. So there's a lot of packaged foods that can come into Angola. So that's a good opportunity to look at. Of course, Angola is a very expensive, Luanda I would say, not Angola. Luanda is a very expensive city, but otherwise Angola is a good potential market as well. And desk research may, I've given all these links. For example, people ask me, how do I go ahead and where do I go? I think there was a whole course that was done. So I'm not going to go into this, but there are free resources that are available. The Food and Agriculture Organization Trade and Markets Division hai. They have all the data of all products that are produced and are exported between countries. UN Comtrade is the nodal body which keeps all the data. You can get it from there, or you can also access the countries' bureaus. So Nigeria has its NBS, Egypt has its CAPMAS, and then you can also go to the AFCTA country fact sheet and understand each of the country fact sheet and each of these regional blocks. For example, if I click on the FAO, you see all their statistics are available. You can see my site. You can go here, you can look at it from an SDG indicator, and then you go to the FAO stat. You put in the details of the country and the product that you want, and these databases are available. You can bulk download it, or you can, and this is all free. This is all free. You don't have to pay any money for that. Similarly, you go to a country level. India also has its own statistical website. Similarly, all these countries also, this is for Nigeria. They also have these different statistics. You can go and pull out your statistics, open data portal, and the National Data Archive for old data. You can totally look into all of that. And then when you're talking about fact sheets, the AFCTA has its own set of fact sheets that you can look at. You can come up with each of those countries' fact sheet to understand. You can download each one of them. Featured countries diye hue hain, and then you can accordingly look at the fact sheet. And then the regional blocks also have their own trade data centers. So when people tell me data nahi hai, not true. All these places I'm showing you right now, data hai. All you need to do is go and look for it. Then you can also go to these private sector specific reports like this Kilmono Kwanzaa. Kilmo Kwanzaa is the Agri food and food system database where you can go and read about these different things. Agra kya kar raha hai, the different report charts that you need for all over Africa ka pura data. You can not data information from a qualitative point of view. You can gain from there. So similarly, there's a Frost and Sullivan Agritech report for you to be able to get. And desk research ke liye hi there is a lot. For example, there is Euromonitor, there is Statista. Statista gives you some fantastic free information, but otherwise, if you want detailed information, it's expensive, but it can give you some really, really good data. If you are members of any of the libraries of any of the universities that are there close by to you, you should be able to get access to Euromonitor and Statista closer to you. And then there's a lot of urbanization happening. Like I said, supermarkets penetration is happening. So do try and get information on that so that you know what kind of consumption is happening, what kind of demand is growing. And on the ground research. Now, this is something that people need to do. When I say primary research, I'm not saying go there and do some research on the ground. But for you to know your product, you can go into trade missions and exhibitions. Some of the ones I put here, they can be in Africa, like Sahel Africa, which also there's one more coming up, Sahel in Paris coming up in September. But Sahel Africa takes you through the different events that happen across Africa. There's Food Agro Africa, where you can go and also attend this seminar summit in Egypt, and then you'll be able to talk to a lot of these importers. Then one of the places that I go regularly is Gulf Food, because a lot of African importers come to Gulf Food in Dubai. It's a one-stop shop. Everybody comes and they try and get their products sold there. So now this year it's finished. Now it is next year again around the same time when we have a Republic Day holiday in January. And then another thing that you need to do is engage with local bodies, especially with the National Chambers of Commerce. So the National Chamber of Commerce are very helpful because they are there to help you to gain access to their markets. So if you see the National Chamber of Commerce, like this is for Nigeria, you can connect with them and you can ask them what kind of, according to your product, you can write to them. This is specifically for agriculture. This is called Nasima. And you can talk to them and you can go and they're more than happy to help you connect with their local buyers. Then you have the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, which also is similar to our FICI and CII, where they also have a committee on agriculture. And then you can talk to them and also get public notice to exporters. They also have for import. There's India Africa Seed Summit that's happening. So a lot of them actually tie up with a lot of Indian organizations as well. And then there are trade promotion organizations like Rwanda is doing something with India. I put that example here is because the Indian the consulate in the embassy in Rwanda is doing an event with the India Rwanda Innovation Growth Program. This is with the Republic of Rwanda and FICI. So they're working with the Indian embassy there. So there's a lot that happens with India. So, these are all on ground. Some of them you don't even have to go. And if you feel you really can't go, but you still want to have your ear on the ground, then you go and connect with, I think there was also another thing where they spoke about details. And here is a trade inquiry form. If you want to sell your biscuits, for example, I've given this example of the Dar es Salaam High Commission in Tanzania. You go and talk to them and you say where you're writing from and that, you want to, export from India to Tanzania. Our High Commission will be able to help you. As a matter of fact, in the all Indian High Commissions and embassies across the world, you'll have somebody like this, Mr. Narendra Kumar here. You can see Second Secretary Commerce. His or her job is to basically help you to be able to get connected. And all this information is there. All you need to do is write to them, call them, speak to them, understand the market. All of this information can be, and all of this you need to do before you go. And of course, you can do field visits and interviews whenever you travel to that part of the world for some exhibition or a trade mission. You can go to the retail channels, traditional markets and dealers, and get in touch with them. And every product has its own way of doing it. So these are all the different summits and events that are happening. In fact, I have this is by I when I give it to you, you can have a look at it. This is this food system summit by Agra, which is happening in Dakar, Senegal, which is coming up. Then there's the food show South Africa, where also the government of India is a part of it. The Consul General in Johannesburg is a part of it. So if you see, government of India is very much there. Initially, we spoke about the South-South cooperation. This is what the government of India wants to do. Shruti, I think you can put it on mute again until we open it for discussion. Then, many, again, Afri-Food is the same Gulf Food, they do one in Africa. So that also has a huge following and a lot of people attend it. So these are the different summits that you can attend. If you Google it, you'll get all of this information. This is not something new. And then you need to be very clear how you're going to work. You need to map the existing players, identify the local distributors. One way is that if you want to go directly to do it yourself, then they become competition. But if you want to work through them, they're able to do it. ABCD Group is a group of 4 companies, 4 different names. It will come later. I'll show you. They are the ones who are actually leading the entire distribution there. If you take Tiger Brands, Pioneer Foods now has been taken over by PepsiCo, but they are the largest. These are the largest distributors. So for your product, instead of you wanting to go there and try to sell, you can also talk to distributors and take your products there. And you have to benchmark your costs. You have to do your FOB price, your freight, tariffs, duties. You have to put everything, and then you put I've given a typical margin what people are doing, so that you have an idea of what to put when you're doing your costing. Analyze promotional strategies. How do you want to do it? 30 to 90-day credit or not? I wouldn't suggest, but it is something that one has to look at. Distribution channel. How do you assess them? Map your networks. National distributors, regional. We want to do retailers. It all depends. Like the Angola one, it's a retailer. They basically bring directly through their connects that they have in India. And very importantly, for processed foods which need cold storage, that's a challenge. So one needs to look at how you're going to work towards that. Understand your target market. It is very important that you know who your target market is. And I put in we're running out of time, so I'm going to run through some of these slides. Consumption patterns. Look at the consumption staples: rice, wheat, maize, 50% of the food budget. Proteins, poultry. I've given all these numbers so that you have an understanding of where your product will fall in. And if there's anything specific you want to know, I gave you all those links where you can go and start looking for information. Demand. Most important is to be able to find your demand gap. Where is the demand? You'll be surprised that there is, for example, this tomato paste. There's a huge demand gap because they may not use a lot of spices, but they do use tomato in their cooking. They use potato with their protein. So in Kenya also, you go to a local Kenyan restaurant, they'll give you, chapati, and it is still called chapati. And there is a huge potential for it. There's a high demand for chapatis. You're walking on the streets of Rwanda, Kenya, Uganda, they'll make you anda paratha. Basically, they call it egg chapati. And they basically put chapati with egg, stick the egg to the chapati, and then they eat it in a bowl. No spices, nothing. Spices, again, for the question that you asked, Mr. Ghosh, places where they have high Indian diaspora, a lot of spices are consumed. So there's a huge Indian diaspora in Mauritius. So there's a lot of spices that are consumed there. Also, they eat a lot of chapatis. Frozen poultry for protein. I told you, for frozen poultry, it's coming all the way from Brazil. Is anyone from India looking at it? Is there any? There is a lot of opportunity for that. If frozen poultry can come from there, why can't it go from India? Processed meats. It's a meat-eating economy. All these countries are very high protein consuming economies. So there's a potential for processed meats, fish products, milk powder. Again, lot of potential. In the beverage space, because of the kind of fruits that grow there and it's wasted, there's a lot of fruit juice that can be, the potential for that also. One thing that people ask me is bottled water. No, that's something that one should not do because there are too many people in the bottled water space in all the countries in Africa. I think that's the first thing that people do because of the lack of good quality water that comes in. And do your market gap analysis. You have a import dependency ratios. Import dependency is basically what it means is that countries import a lot more of a certain product than they produce, and then they look at that ratio and they decide that it's better to import than to even produce. So if that is something that your product is, you are in luck. You can start looking at that once you do that analysis. Local production capacity, you'll see that a lot of these production, most of these countries is low, but there's a demand for it. Same thing with price point analysis. How are you going to price it? As a matter of fact, your pricing you'll always have a good margin in Africa when you price it properly, because there's a lack of it, so there is a huge demand for it, and the prices are high because the supply is low. Seasonal demand, you can look at that as well. Although this is the end of that session, I will not take questions here. I will move on with this, and then we'll take questions after this. Again, strategic market entry and streamlined logistics. I'm going to talk about a little bit about logistics here and market entry. How are you going to get into? Because the potential, like I said, is 1 trillion by 2030, growing at an 8% CAGR. Tariff-free access because of AFCTA, 90% tariff elimination is happening. People are companies are saving $34 billion in import duties, which is a large number for the continent of Africa. Huge consumer base, like I said, 60% under the age of 25. Reduced border delays. Now border delays are actually getting harmonized. Earlier clearance times used to be 12 days. Now it's happening in 4 days. Everything's getting digitized. Demurrage costs are coming down because clearance times are also coming down. Market entry, there are 3 ways of doing it. One is direct export model. Do you want to go directly set up your distribution center there? A lot of Indian companies have that, but they're the big ones. They're really large, established brands, unique products. Large companies, the Godrejas have done, the Tatas have done, the Reliances have done, they've done it. But for SMEs, that's not something that there are a few SMEs that have done it for very niche products, organic products that they want to actually be able to sell in these markets. They were able to look at it from a direct export model, but the investment is very high and you need a local partner, and you need to understand the regulatory complexity and be able to work on it. It is highly not advisable for MSMEs to get into it, but that's a model. Distributorship partnership is where most of the SMEs, the MSMEs look at, and it is best for them. Because the distributors are already there, the local expertise is there, they've established networks. You don't have that much risk. But the thing is, there's less control on your product, on your profits, and potential conflicts that may also arise because these guys are very big in their countries. It's best for the SMEs, like I said, first-time exporters, complex markets that you want to get into. In joint ventures is another very good way to look at it for MSMEs because local distributors or local producers would want partially manufactured goods from India, and then they finish the good and then they sell it in their local market. So those are some things that can be looked at. I see that a lot happening now in the pharmaceutical sector, but in the food processing sector also it is possible. For example, the same example of chapatis that I told you, from wheat to basically doing various products. You can do value added chapatis with a joint venture partner on ground there, so that they also know the market. You're sharing your risk, and then all the negotiations are done by a local partner, etc. Now, where do you ship your products? What kind of places can you ship it to? So there are major ports in Africa. The major ones that normally Indians use is Mombasa in Kenya, Dar es Salaam in Tanzania. There is also Durban port in South Africa, which also goes there. The Lobito port is something that's new, that's growing. For the gentleman who is in Angola would know that. Then the the port in Ghana, the Conakry port in Guinea. Then there is Alexandria port in Egypt, and for Nigeria they have the Lagos port. So these are basically the major ports. And there's also the Casablanca port, which is there. And then it's improving. The container dwell times is improving. It is different in different parts. But the ports in Tanzania and Kenya are chock-a-block. Too many people going, because this whole central region that we are talking about, this whole hinterland, the unconnected part of Africa, which is which we'll talk about in a moment, they all use this Kenya, Tanzania. So even including Zambia and Zimbabwe, which are to the south, they also send all the way their products to, they have to get their products all the way from Dar es Salaam. So now what is happening is various other countries are also opening up ports, investing in ports. Dubai ports is actually coming and investing in different parts. For example, if you take the Djibouti port, which is north of, it's here, north of Ethiopia, they put a railway there so that they can export their products from there through the Djibouti port. We have problems in the Somalia region. So people are now a little, not now is okay, but initially in between there was a problem there. But shipping lines are there, the standard global shipping lines, Maersk and MSC and CMA, CGM, which are very dominant. And the freight rates, to give you an example, from Bombay, Nhava Sheva port to go to Mombasa port is between 1,500 to 1,800 per container. But then once you go from the hinterland, say, for example, from the Mombasa port to go to Rwanda or Uganda, will be about $3,000. So the hinterland is getting more expensive, but that also is coming down. So that is because of the road transport. Cross-border efficiency is improving with these one-stop border posts, which these regional blocks and the AFCTA are now manning. So the trucking costs have actually come down. Earlier, it used to be very, very high. Now all these roads are coming into play. For example, the key corridors being the Mombasa-Kampala. Mombasa-Kampala is Mombasa, you can see here, going all the way to Kampala. And you see this, there's an extension that will come into Rwanda also, and going all the way into Kisangani and going to Bangui. So these containers go quite a long way. And the north-south is from Cape Town, here in Durban, close to Durban. It goes all the way up through Harare, Lusaka, and Dodoma, etc. Railways, like they did for us in India, the British, when they came, or the French, when they came, they also set up the rail freight in Africa. But all of them crumbled. And some of them are still functional, but only about 20% of the total agricultural goods go through railways. That has been realized. And then a lot of new railways are now coming. The Lobito Corridor Trade Facilitation, which I was a part of, in which Lobito Corridor is being put together. I'll show you, that's a case study I've taken. And they have standard gauge railways. For example, the Dar es Salaam Morogoro is along. So all the hinterland in Tanzania is covered through there. Not all of it, but 35% of it. By road is a little more expensive. Then you have the Addis Ababa Djibouti Railway, I told you. It moves about 1.5 million tons of agri produce. So combining and seeing the costing between rail where it is available, because when there is products going from hinterland into the port, something has to come from port to hinterland also. So when we export from India, one of the things that Indian logistics, they don't look at, is to look at this port available, the railway availability, and use that because it will be cheaper. But unfortunately, it's mostly done by road, which is why it is very expensive. But all of these also can be looked at when you're doing exports. Landlocked countries is where I told you, the hinterland countries is where the whole challenge lies. So you need the roll rate corridors, like I was telling you, one-stop border post is what we need to use, which makes it easier. The clearance times is from 7 days coming down to 2 days. Logistic hub, free zones. A lot of countries, or rather, every country that I know is talking about a free zone where they're asking people to do last mile manufacturing there. So there's a huge potential to come into manufacturing there as well. Private-public partnerships, like I told you, is putting cargo handling, boosting with private investment coming in there. And the Lobito corridor is a corridor that is there between Zambia, DRC, and Angola. So with the corridor, the transit times is coming down by 50% from 14 days to 7 days. Air freights have dropped by 58%. So a lot of new things are happening. Zambia and DR Congo's 5 million ton maize is exported now. So again, whatever goes out, the same capacity is there for it to come back in. So if we can use the railway, it has a lot of potential to documentation. I won't talk about the documentation you need from India because I'm sure you already know you need to get your license, the export license, and then you have to. The paperwork in India is not what I'm going to go through. I'm going to talk to you about the one in Africa. So the African countries generally require a certificate of origin, like we also require, even in India. And then it gives you access through the AFCTA, like I said, 90% of the goods. African markets, for example, Egypt and Nigeria, the Islamic countries which are there, they mandate halal certification for all meat and poultry. That of course is not compulsory in India, but in Islamic countries, especially in the Maghreb region, in the northern part of Africa and the western part of Africa, halal is mandated. Indian halal certification is accepted. So if there is any meat products or byproducts of meat that go into any of your food that you process, halal certification will be required. Import permissions are product and country specific. Every country has its own Plant Protection Act. One has to look at it for their phytosanitary. India, of course, has a very broad permit, but in countries like Rwanda, it's very, very restricted. Countries like Madagascar, because their flora and fauna is very different from the rest of the world. It's like Australia. The flora and fauna that you find in Madagascar, you'll not find anywhere else in the world. So their permits are very different. So one has to look at that very particularly. We also, we require very rigorous phytosanitary and health certificates. But in some countries, additional inspectorate approvals are required. For example, that is more tit for tat. It has nothing to do with anything. It's just countries like Nigeria ask that because India asked from Nigeria. And now everything is electronic. It's the custom system is all import portals. It's through the SEZ online filing, mirroring, etc. So it's quite efficient that way these days for the documentation. Okay, how do you optimize your supply chain? This is something I thought is very interesting. I'll go very quickly through this. You need to leverage your your container loads. Not all MSMEs can do containers by containers. So there are partners like Trade Depot, which basically do groupage of your products, and then you'll be able to do. These are all African companies that you can work with. So instead of getting a whole 20 feet container, you can actually reduce your ocean freight by that much. And then when you're there and you need cold storage operators, instead of putting money into capex of your own cold storage, there are these cold hubs which are there in Nigeria, Kenya. It's a network. You can just hire part of their. So there are a lot of these things, digital freight platforms. You can book and track your shipments. Kobo is a very popular one, where you can move your shipments across. You see Unilever is using it. A lot of other people are using it. Even the logistic companies like DHL also uses them. So they're quite efficient. Lorry Systems is another. These are all in Africa. These are all powering African logistics. Unfortunately, a lot of people do not know about it. And that's the reason why. And they do dynamic pricing. So you can actually look at the right pricing for yourself and bring it down to as much as 10% in the pricing. And vendor management inventory, you have to, again, Trade Depot has a vendor management inventory process. You can use that. Like I said, again, the one-stop border post is something that will decrease your cost. So those are the kind of routes that you can use for your supply chains. And then if you want to, a lot of times, so I know some people who basically go and do reverse. I mean, I'm talking reverse, where they gather cashew nut in hinterlands and then they bring it to the port and then they send it. And they're always finding it difficult to use, to carry cash into it. Now it is not that big of a problem. Now you have Airtel money in the countries where Airtel is there. They have Tigo money, equivalent, mobile money things. But for financing also, there are micro loans that you can get from Tala, where you can work with, but you need to have a local partner for you to work with them. And then through them, you can access micro loans. And then working capital cycles can be reduced by using, things like Mantonin in different parts. Then if you want to keep stock inventory, there's software for that. Twiga is there, and you can use it to keep the inventory there in the distribution hubs. Sendi is another one in Kampala. Their website wasn't working. I don't know if it's working still. So there are many. When I share this, you can uh, have a look at that. So from a regulatory landscape, I think you already have done a course on what kind of standards you need on standards and all that. So there are international standards, there are regional standards like the African Organization for Standardization, there are East African standards, there are country standards also, national requirements which require local testing, especially countries like Rwanda and the likes have these regulatory local standards. Labeling requirements, again, you were asking me about labeling. It's very important. Labeling is it has to be done in their language, in Arabic, French, Portuguese, along with English, if that's the language that you want to put it in. And nutritional labeling, like we do it in India, standard procedures. Export finance, we don't have enough time. I think we're running out of time. Do you want me to continue on this and take questions, Shruti, or do you want me to finish it? It'll maybe take
Sir,
another 10 minutes.
in fact, for finance, as I mentioned to you, we plan to have an export finance session. We will be doing in the month of September, either second half of August or September, an export finance dedicated session. So, sir, we can go
Sure.
a little. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll just give you only
But yes,
some.
the very Africa related, I saw a couple of them where there is a line of credit
Yeah,
for Africa export. I think
yeah.
that can be
So
very interesting.
yeah. So this is all Africa related only. There's nothing generic in this. This is these are all standard, of course. But what I wanted to actually show you was that there are banks. A lot of times when we talk about letters of credit, we're always struggling to find which bank do I work with, is there an Indian bank, etc. So there are commercial bank facilities where they give you credit facilities also, like the Standard Chartered Bank, which is there in Kenya, Nigeria, and Ghana, gives you up to $500,000 at 7 to 10% per annum USD rate. EcoBank gives you short term. If you look at the smaller banks, like the other banks, Crane Bank and the likes, their interest rates are 24%, 28%. So which is won't work. But these are some of the banks that you can work with if you're doing something in Africa. Invoice discounting is done. Stanbic Bank can do it. 80% of your invoices given within 5 business days. KCB Bank, Zenith Bank, they give you up to 70 to 90% advance on that. Then source of financing, there's the African Development Bank's African Guarantee Fund. There's the IFC, SME Ventures. There are lots of these things where you can also, raise some of these things. This is particularly for Africa. And trade credit insurance also you should get. That's what I always tell most of my clients. Export credit guarantees. There's the ECGC Limited in India, which can cover 90% cover on your non-payment of your sovereign or corporate buyers in Africa. There's the MIGA, which is the World Bank's risk insurance, so which you can look at also. And this is important. The banking partners and corresponding networks. For example, we have a lot of corresponding banks in India. So Standard Chartered in India actually is in 30 African countries, and they have the INR clearing with the Standard Chartered Bank India. Barclays Africa, the APSA group also has an India representative office. They used to have Barclays in India when SWIFT used to be used, and it was easy to do LCs earlier. Citibank also left India, otherwise Citibank Africa is there. EcoBank is there with ICICI Bank tie-up, and Standard Bank is there with HDFC Bank tie-up. And there is, I don't know if there will be some of you who will know, but Rabobank has its office in Mumbai, and they do a lot of funding for Agri. If you have a good project, they can actually work with you in Africa also, because they are a Dutch bank with a lot of presence in Africa. African banks are there in India. Afri-Exim Bank, of course, you have to go through Exim Bank of India and work with them. EcoBank and First Rand Bank, which are both they have an office in Bombay, and then they work with you. Then you have Indian banks, which are there in Africa: State Bank of India, Bank of Baroda, Bank of India, Punjab National Bank, Union Bank of India, IDBI. They have branches across Africa, and one can work through them. Currency risk is a big challenge. So one needs to really look at having like I was saying, you need to have a alternate jurisdiction like Dubai or Singapore or any of there, where you basically keep your profits out there, not in local currency, but in dollars or pounds or euros, depending on what you choose. And you need to hedge your contracts accordingly in dollars. Political risk, I think. One very interesting point that I wanted to bring in is with this executive order that President Trump brought in. AGOA is Africa Growth and Opportunities Fund Act, sorry, which basically allowed for zero duty importing of goods into Africa. All agricultural goods were zero duty earlier. India also has that. It's called duty-free, quota-free access of goods for these developed economies, which are about 54 of them. So there is zero duty. About 99% HS codes are covered in that. But now with this whole thing that's happened with Trump, there is a tariff that has been put from 10% to 30% in about 22 African countries, which is now not giving them anything. And since August 7th, it's almost kind of as good as not even there. Agri exporters, food exporters are very much impacted in Africa. So now they are looking at elsewhere. And then this is ended there. So a lot of these processed food lines, olive nuts, fruit preparations, all of these used to go from there. Now none of that is happening. So there is a potential for that to come to India also. So there's a lot of opportunity for the other way around, imports into India as well. And African import tariffs on Indian. So although we have the duty-free, quota-free access, that is only for least developed economies. These are all medium developed economies. Kenya, South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, Egypt. So they have duties on us, and we have similar duties on them. So in India, from Kenya, for example, if you're selling something, you'll have a duty of about 10 to 25%, which is still something that one can work with. So now that this is finished, now I'm happy to take questions, and I think we can. How much time, whatever you say, Shruti, I can give another 10, 15 minutes for questions, not a problem.
Thank you so much, Abhilash sir. I will also just change. So all our SMEs, all our participants, you can now unmute yourself, ask your questions. So any specific question you have, please feel free to ask them. And I'll also be just starting our poll very soon. So then please do not drop without giving your feedback for the session. But please ask your specific questions. I know some people had their hands up last time. Chitranjan ji, yes, please unmute yourself and ask questions, sir.
I'm keeping the map open so that if I need to explain to somebody, I'm happy to.
Yeah, thank you, Avilash sir. Thank you, Smriti madam, for providing the opportunity. And it was such an insightful session. Avilash sir, actually, I am basically dealing with the spices and the ginger. Okay, I'm based out of Odisha. Here, these are both the GI tag products. Okay, and I reached out to the African exporters. I get those data through the government help from the ports and customs. Okay, but particularly this African importers, I don't get any response actually. I got those data from customs. Okay, but I don't get any response from them. Is there any way or we
Which
can
countries
leverage?
have you? Which countries have you?
Senegal I did, then Ethiopia I did, and another country. Actually, I 2-3 importers I mailed it. I don't remember that name. That also I did.
Yeah.
But
So
around 10
Ethiopia,
mails
Senegal.
10
Yeah, you
10
have to
mails I
get
sent.
behind them. Another thing that you can also do is you can get in touch with the embassies of those countries in India. Thankfully for us in India, all these countries in Africa, not all, but most of these countries in Africa have an embassy in Delhi, or they'll have a consul general in Bombay, or even for you, because you're in Orissa, you can even try and see if you can get somebody in Calcutta. Even if they don't have an embassy, they'll have an honorary consul general. And these people are actually quite helpful because they also want Indian businesses to go to these countries and sell our products. So there is that opportunity that is that you can look at them. Second is write to these Indian consular officers and ask them for help to be able to connect you. And normally it all depends on the volumes that you're talking about for these these distributors to come to you. I've given you some, in this I've spoken about a few links of distributors that I spoke about, but there are many distributors. There'll be smaller distributors also. And you won't be surprised that places like Tanzania and all of that, the distributors are mostly Indian descent, they're Indian diaspora. So they'll be more than happy to access you, and you need to search a little bit online and be able to connect with them, but you'll be able to do it. There is a huge
Sir,
demand for
yes,
spices
sir.
for sure.
Sir, just a follow-up question. In the slide, as you mentioned, the three types of way of doing business. One is the directly reaching out to exporters, which is a expensive way of doing that. Other two are one is joint venture, and is through reaching out the local distributors. Okay.
Distributor.
How? But when I go to custom, because say, as a exporter, the only way I can, as a amateur exporter, my only way to get those data from the Bholja or the custom support. Okay, I don't know whether they are distributors or not. But how do I reach out to these distributors? I know only these are the importers only.
You can also go through Apeda if you're processing any of your product. Apeda also helps. I've just done something with the government of Assam, where let's say, for example, Northeast, they have something called Narmak.
Okay.
Narmak is where people actually go. Narmak will not apply to you. That's mostly for the Northeast areas. And Narmak is, I'm sure there'll be something similar in Orissa also. Narmak is where they are wanting to export to the world. So all the local producers are going to Narmak and saying, can we go with you with our product? So they'll have some, and then you white label to them, and then from there they send it out. So similarly, there'll be something like that.
Only the regional bodies, the PO is there only in Odisha.
PO is there, which is based out of Delhi. PO could ask PO also, they'll also be able to help.
Yeah, I have apart from Apeda also, I have that PO membership as well. Okay, for the next 5 years. Again, the buyer finding process remains same for them also. I want some help, the leverage that help, because maybe we'll get once in a while response. After 2 months, we'll get someone's response. Okay, and they are asking, right, 70% of the product once you send the documents, and 30% act for inspection. Okay, these kind of huge risk actually, because the consignment cost around 40 lakhs. Okay.
Yeah. So no, I think you can like these 3-4 things, like I said, you can try any of these 3-4 things, and then if you're still not because there are a lot of distributors, and they're always asking me for, we need this, we need that, can we get, and I normally don't get into the trading part of it. My work mostly is on the policy side, so I work on the policy part of it. And that's how I work with these countries. I write policies for them, and I design their policies for them, trilaterally, bilaterally. And because of that, they come and ask me. But I always find somebody or the other wanting, somebody will say, I want pepper. There's a huge demand for pepper in Senegal recently. So somebody wrote to me from there saying, can you connect me to somebody? So that's how it is. And you need to build your networks.
I'll go through your PPTs. Okay, some of the other platforms you have mentioned. Okay,
sure.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yeah, you're very welcome. Anyone else? I can't see any hands. So Shruti, can you keep calling out names and I can?
Yes. Any other questions? We also have our feedback form, so please share your feedback form. The feedback form is on the screen. Yes, please go on with your question.
Sumit this side.
Yeah, please tell me, Sumit.
Hi. I was asking about the millet cookies and all.
बताइए.
So how we directly connect to distributorships or anything with the help of government bodies?
आपका वॉल्यूम कितना है?
Volume अभी फिलहाल तो we are doing 1 ton per day.
No, for export.
No, the export we are new. We didn't export.
Okay. And you're able to supply in India itself.
Yeah, we are able to supply in India. We are going to ministries. We are going to some distribution ship in Jaipur, Delhi, Pune, Maharashtra side. But we actually want to create a market for millet cookies, which is 100% gluten free. which are needed to. So
Hello?
who will help us and how will help
Like I said, you need to first identify where you want to go,
us? Okay.
depending on the market. You'll have to do, like there's this link that Shruti will send you. You do that, how to go through the market and how to find the market. I've also given some things in this presentation. Once you identify, because this is 54 countries, you can't go to everybody and talk to everybody.
Yeah.
Identify which markets you want to go. Once you identify the markets, there are 3-4 ways. One is, of course, you understand who the distributors are there on the ground, how you want to be able to connect it with them, etc. And then you connect with either their embassies here or our embassies there, and then through them and through the CII equivalent that they have there, you can go through them and then get connected. But first, you need to understand where you want to go. That becomes very important.
Okay. Any government body helping us to showcase our products or anything?
Yeah, APEDA does.
APEDA does. Okay.
APEDA does. APEDA helps take Indian products out.
Okay.
They
Right.
have their. Is anyone from APEDA here? And also, if you have any seafood related, then there is AMPEDA, marine products export. So if anybody is using marine products, then it's AMPEDA. If it is agricultural processing, then it's APEDA.
Hello.
Anyone?
Thank you for all the information.
Yeah.
Oh, you're
Hi,
very
sir.
well. Hi.
Yeah, I'm Dr. Suman Kashyap here. Actually, my venture is IRA Plant Biotech. So we manufacture organic plant growth supplements. It's for the growth of the plant. We manufacture supplements. So it is applicable at agriculture, horticulture, urban gardening, and hydroponics as well. So I'm also like looking for, I think to export, do we need organic certification first of all? It is a
Yes,
supplement to manufacture. Yeah.
But if
Do we?
if you're claiming it to be organic, see, when you talk about organic production, and then if they are going to then sell their product as organic, everything in the value chain has to be organic. So if it is a supplement also that you're using, so for example, you can't use the regular urea and NPK and all that in your organic farming. You will have to have organic materials to go in. So if your product is not organically recognized, and Indian organic certificate is recognized in most parts of Africa. So you don't have to go for a USDA certified. Some places will be there where they need USDA certified, but most of them are
Okay.
organic. Indian organic is used.
So we need to have an organic certification for export as well. Because
if you are claiming it to be organic, if you don't claim it to be organic, then it need not be organic. It can be sold as non-organic also.
Oh, is that so? Okay. Okay. And so that doesn't require any kind of certification again?
My question to you is, do you claim it to be organic in India?
No, we do claim it to be organic. It comes under biostimulant category. It is an organic product. Yes, we claim it as an organic because we have,
Can it be
tested.
used in organic? Can you use it in organic?
Yes.
Does, like for example, if I'm growing tur dal, can I use your product?
Yes,
And then
definitely.
my tur dal will still be organic?
Yes, definitely. Because we have tested, we have done a lot of pilots research over here in India, okay, in the outskirts of Karnataka. So wherein we have grown the product and we have tested the media, we have tested the plant also. Like there are no chemicals present. Around 86 pesticides, all these were tested and it has shown zero value. Okay.
Organic certification actually goes with process. Testing is one part of it, but process also is one part of it.
Correct.
So it all depends. It all depends on how these countries see it. Depends on country to country. I can tell you that if it is not required in India, Most probably in countries like Kenya, Uganda, and all that, it will not be required. But if you go to places like Nigeria or South Africa, they'll very much want it. So it all depends on country to country. You'll have to um, take it up with those authorities directly. And if you want to export this, the Ministry of Agriculture will be the best place to go through, because this is an agricultural, this is not food processing. Today we spoke
Correct.
mostly on food processing.
Food
So this
processing.
is more on the, in the value chain, this is basically on the production side.
Okay.
In the
Ministry of
input, it's through the Ministry of Agriculture of these countries that you have to go through. So
Sure.
within these Ministry of Agriculture, there'll be a research institute that will always be there. Like, for example, if you take the government of Rwanda, Ministry of Agriculture has ISAR as their research institute, Institute for Agricultural Research of Rwanda. So they are the ones who will tell you if it is required or not. Similarly, each country will have its own research institute within the Ministry of Agriculture who will be able to tell you. And as a matter of fact, because you connect to the Ministry of Agriculture, they'll be the ones who will be able to connect you to the right distributors and importers for your product to be taken in that country.
Okay. No,
And a
because
product
even
like
in
yours
India,
will be very highly. See, there are some countries which are actually pushing for organic produce for exports. Rwanda is one, Kenya is one, Ethiopia is the third. Then you have Ghana, you have Namibia, you have even Zambia and Zimbabwe. So all these countries are looking to have a certain set of organic produce that they want to export to the UK, to Europe, etc. So these countries will be very keen on looking at your product.
Okay. Okay.
In
So
fact,
how do
sorry,
sorry.
Abhilash
Yeah.
sir, somebody has also mentioned, ma'am, on your query only, that what you are mentioning will fall under IPM grade and not organic. For organic, you should have trace right from the soil, seed till
Yeah,
final product.
exactly. Through the value chain.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, sir. But you mentioned about research institutes. They charge exorbitantly to certify our products. Like, how do we?
That I can't that I can't tell you how that
Okay.
can be, because all these research institutes have their own
Yeah.
rates. I can't comment on that.
Sure. Sure. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're welcome. Maybe we can take one or two more questions, Shruti.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello, sir. We are manufacturing of a bottled organic sugarcane juice, and we have IEC and FSSI, all everything. But we are packing the sugarcane juice in glass bottles. So how we can export to these all countries?
It will become very expensive for you to do glass bottle export of sugarcane juice. Will it be even valuable to export that too? Because for beverages, it's actually better that you, even I'll give you an example. Even when you do wine is very high value. So even wine, they do it in large balloons when they take it to Africa, and then they do the bottling in the country there. So even in India, even if you take Fratelli, which is a Kingfisher's product, when they actually come to India, it's all grape juice that comes from the rest of the Europe or wherever else. All of that comes to India in a balloon, and then the balloon is then made into bottles and bottled here in India. So same thing there in Africa. So if you're thinking of doing bottles export, it won't work. It will not be profitable for you.
अविनाश जी, सौमित्र
जी
हियर वंस
जी जी
हम लोगों का रुड़की में खुद का ऑर्गेनिक शुगर केन का मैन्युफैक्चरिंग है, जैगरी का. So during this season, we do organic jaggery, which is USDA, FDA and organic certified. तो उसमें से जैगरी के ब्लॉक्स आते हैं, एंड देन वी डू जैगरी पाउडर व्हेन द सीजन गेट्स ओवर, बिकॉज कोई प्रिजर्वेटिव होता नहीं है, ओकरा से हम लोग उसको वो करते हैं, तो एक पाउडर. एंड रिसेंटली वी आर एडिंग अप ऑर्गेनिक शुगर केन. So how's the market for Africa for these products? I mean, that will be a little bit pricey. I mean, not that much.
Yeah, there is a market for. For example, you take the the coffee industry.
Uh-huh.
So the coffee industry, it's not for everybody. I mean, the poorest of the poor can't afford to have coffee, maybe once in a way, but not regularly. But the the urban areas in all these countries, most of these countries are now coming up with wanting to, for that, those people who are making the middle class who is wanting to go and have a little bit more of coffee, because of that disposable income that they have. Similarly, jaggery also, I don't think a lot of people know much about jaggery in Africa. The normal people I'm talking about. Those people who are in urban areas where they have more disposable income. You go to a city like Addis Ababa, you go to a city like Kigali, you go to Nairobi, you go to a Lagos or Abidjan, or you go to any of these capital cities. There'll be a market for it. And for jaggery also, there is a market for those people who know what the product is. The cost for you in being able to take a quality product like yours to Africa is going to be the marketing cost, because you need to first tell them what it is. That's one. Two, there are lots of online marketplaces through which you can sell them. So the way people do these high value products is they take them onto some of these online marketplaces, and then they do a drop shipment model. There's a drop ship. You are aware of what drop shipment model is?
Right.
Yeah, so they do drop shipment model with some of these people based out of whichever country that they're doing.
Right. And I think we may have to use refrigerated containers as well, because since there is no preservative, it starts melting once it goes above 16 degree. So that's also a challenge for us.
Yeah, that's also a challenge. Then see, cold chain is still a challenge in Africa. Cold chain is still a challenge. There are some companies that we've been approached through the government of India only, saying that, why don't we take this to Africa using frozen, highly pressurized carbon dioxide, which actually becomes like a block, and then you utilize that to keep it for 6 hours or 8 hours. So a lot of solutions are there, but nothing is commercially viable yet for low cost cold chain.
I understand. So in that case, if that is being sorted, then only it will be feasible for us to venture to Africa with this sugarcane jaggery, and as well as the new product which we have just started.
Sugar itself has a huge market there.
Cubes, which you get in 5-star hotels, which is made of isumsa actually, but this one is pure jaggery one. But then again, there is a heat issue because we are not using preservative.
Yeah, that's why it's organic. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyone else? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Abhilash sir, for the wonderful session. I think it was very specific. We've done 4 to 5 sessions on export for our SMEs here, but it was such a specific session, just getting insight into African market, where you are such an expert on. So thank you so much for today's session. Thank you to all our SMEs for joining. As mentioned, sometime next week, we will be sharing an email to all the participants of today with the deck of the session and video recording. So you will get it sometime next week. So thank you so much everyone for joining, and we'll see you. We'll keep doing more sessions for you. Keep writing on WhatsApp group, emailing me any specific learnings you want to learn more about, and we will keep organizing those sessions for you. So hope you had a lot of good learning. Hope whatever you have marked that you will implement from today's session, you actually will implement that. With that, thank you to everyone. Happy Raksha Bandhan once again. Thank you, Abhilash sir, once again for such a wonderful session, sir.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Have a good day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Chitranjan ji, if you're still in the session, sir, in that passcode, I hope you have put equal to also in the passcode. There's an equal to in the passport. I hope you've not missed that.
So let me try now again.
Yes. So that equal to is part of the passcode.
Just me try again.
Yes, please.
Yes, madam. Yeah, it's right. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Okay,
All
got
right.
it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.